All right, welcome back. Today, gonna do a special build on a V2 infraction. It is not my infraction, but we're gonna convert this V2 infraction to a drag setup. So we're going to go ahead and install kill mode 2900 kV drag motor, his drag setup with an XLX, and then we're going to change out the center diff to a limitless spool, and yeah, we're gonna modify this thing totally so that he can drag race this thing and hopefully do pretty good with it. So we're gonna tune up the suspension a little bit. We're gonna try to distribute the weight as best we can. On a drag setup, I like to keep the weight from about 3/4 and then forward. So as much weight as I can get forward, because we're going to want it to drive as much as we can, keep the front end down and drive off these front wheels to keep it going straight. We do need weight over the rear as well, just not as much as the front, because it's going to want to lift. So the plan is to do everything in our power to keep weight from about this point forward. Once we get the batteries in there, we have weight on the rear, and with the motor we are going to flip it because this motor does not fit over here. So we're going to flip it, put this motor over here, and then I'd like to use a 3-pack on this to keep that motor cool. From Game Changer, but I don't think I have one. But we'll get to the fan setup once we start this build. But first thing we're going to do is rip out everything. So the way I like to do it, I like to get rid of the steering box, receiver box, ESC. I'm going to take that out complete, and I'm going to take the motor mount and everything out complete. Now this does have the rear brake. We won't be able to utilize that, I don't think. I'm going to try to keep it back here. I'm just not sure because I'm not used to that system. But I am going to try to keep it because that's what makes a V2 a V2. And if we can possibly hold that and use it as some sort of drag launch, I'd like to do that. I know they recommend not doing it, that you can shatter the center diff, but we're going to lock it. So I'm kind of curious to see how that's going to work. So that will be the first time that I'm doing it, and we'll go from there. And we are going to run XT90s. Now, this has already been soldered up, and I'm going to say this to everybody out there. Your cap pack, you want as close to the ESC as possible. You don't want to solder your cap back halfway down these wires. That just doesn't work. By the time it discharges and charges back up, this length, your ripple could be really low, especially when you start getting to 1-to-1 on the gear ratio. So I'm going to try to correct this. I don't know if it's going to be possible. It looks like they soldered it on the end here, and then they added wire to make it XT90. So yeah, we're gonna take a look and see if I can unsolder this, move this back up where it belongs up here. We'll peel this plastic back a little bit, and we're gonna solder directly right on here. That's pretty much where we want it. So if we can get a good solder point there and there, then we'll do it that way. So I will try to correct that. And then we are going to hook this up to Castle Link, and we're going to put the old program in it, and then we're going to unlock this and put it at the 350, 400 amps that it should be, because they come 200 amp brand new, and this is a brand new one. So I'm going to go ahead and stick the old program in this thing and get this thing unlocked. I'm also going to try to get rid of this Castle fan and put a game changer up here to keep these cold. These have a tendency of overheating, especially drag racing. If you're doing back to back to back to runs, it's gonna get hot, especially with unlocking it. 200 amps, it's not too bad, doesn't run that hot. But once we get it up to the 400 amps, it's going to run a little hot. So just figured I'd let you know what we're gonna do. I'm gonna take you through this. You have seen me build some of these things before, so this first part of stripping it down is basically the same. I've already got the wheel nuts loose. I loosen the driver side, which we call the left side, so that I can get to the bolts for the center support brace. So I am going to change out the center support brace with the one I have, and we're going to try to mount the ESC, because it's a infraction. We have all that cab area. So I'm going to try to get the ESC mounted up top here in the middle. And so in doing that, we're going to use this. And then the motor, I'm going to see about putting on the Power Hobbies heatsink and see if I can go that route. I might throw some Hootie fans on it for now, and then until we can get some game changers down here. So what I like to do is take I don't work on my my RC workbench that a subscriber made me, because it's easier with this to do it on the table. So I'm going to get a ball tire that I have, and I'm going to use this kind of to level it while these wheels are off. And I'm sure we're going to have to heat this up to get these bolts out, but you guys know step by step how I do this. So we're going to strip this thing down. So the first thing I'm going to do is get rid of this center support brace so it's not in my way. So first thing we're going to do, get rid of this center support brace. That way it's not in our way. So I'm going to try to leave everything here hooked up. Next thing I'm going to do is pop this receiver box open so that we can unplug the receiver, so that we can get this thing disconnected properly. You might be running a different radio. Like I said, this is not my RC, so it's still got a Spectrum in there. So I'm going to take this stuff out, see what channel this is on. Then I'm going to go ahead and pop off this steering link. I'm going to make sure the steering is in the center because I don't have the remote. So make sure you have your torch. I'm going to fill it up with butane now. I don't like to fill it and then use it directly after, because leftover residue does evaporate fast, but I just don't like vapors around it when I'm lighting it, which we might have to do here in a few seconds. So I'm going to grab my MIPs, because you guys know I like to use MIPs to break this stuff down. And I've said it before, extreme precision XLX.com. He does have good tools, and you can use this to break these bolts loose. It does work. So there's two, like I said before, there's 3 that go into metal, 2 that go into plastic. Don't heat up the plastic ones. They should break loose no problem. So we're going to go ahead and do that. No, these are definitely going to need some heat. My tool's been working pretty good. It's been lighting on the second one. Much easier to get them loose with a little heat to them. Yeah, so much easier. Like, look at that. Not much on there at all, which is, for me, better. So, we are going to have to lose the battery tray on this side. So, we might as well get rid of those bolts now as well. We are going to have to take off the ESC and the receiver box. So it's pretty much everything on the right hand side we are going to lose. Now don't worry, the small bolts are all pretty much the same. Except for the end ones. That is a short one right in the middle. These are 2 that I haven't seen before right here in the center, which I think might go to that brake assembly. I think that's all of them. Hopefully that's all of them. So yep, motor's loose. Receiver box loose, and battery trays loose. Perfect. Drive shaft, front drive shaft, whole receiver box. Now, I'm going to flip this thing around. Because right here we have to pop up this cover in the center because the battery trays to it. So I popped that up, and then I found that the center support bearing, slide it up. So I had cut one of these up already, and I'm going to try to retain, as long as that doesn't get in the way with the motor, I'm going to try to retain that. So we are all stripped down. So I'm going to pause the video. I'm going to get this chassis cleaned up. We'll be right back. Alright, back again. Went ahead and got the chassis all cleaned up so we can get everything laid out properly without having to worry about all the dirt. So here's that third brake deal. They did add 2 bolts to the bottom right in the center that we will be utilizing. So I'm thinking that I should be able to pull these pins there's our brake, goes in between there, and then we're going to flip this thing around and that hits the mount right there, but I believe we're going to be sliding the motor out anyway. So I'm going to leave the pins out for now. And we're going to concentrate on this. So I'm going to want to loosen this up. Hopefully you guys can see. So I'm going to loosen up the motor mount. So I'll need that top plate. Never use bad tools on this stuff, guys. It makes it very iffy when taking this stuff off. So I have to take it off anyway. So it doesn't have the C-clip on it anymore. Fat gear. I need the motor mount bolts. There we go. Don't need the motor anymore. Okay, now if we're going to utilize the brake, we need these diff cups, which you need these square diff cups to utilize that brake, and the Limitless doesn't have those square diff cups. And these basically have a pin on the inside of the diff. And I don't think I have square diff cup, but I am going to look for some. So that sucks. The brake, this brake goes, that's how it stops, is through that that rectangle right there. And the Limitless, they're round. But I think there's some aftermarket diff cups, if I'm not mistaken. EMP might make them. I don't know. I'm going to take a look at the EMP website and see if EMP ones are square, which I believe they are. Because I really like to mount up that brake if possible. I go ahead and mount this motor mount up. And then the plastic mounts. So the bearing's going to go to the inside. So just make sure that the mounts face each other so that the bearings can slip into those slots without sliding out. Got our motor mount. Let's see if I can retain that bearing. So the center support bearing is back in there. Make sure it clears the motor. So now we're still going to have to deal with that diff cup issue, but for now I'm going to set it up without it until we can locate some square diff cups. There we go. There we go. Oh, he needs a regular gear because this is that hexagon one. That doesn't fit on this shaft. So this is a 27. So we're going to start off with a 2734. Just snug that in there for now. Should be good right there. So I'm going to go ahead and pause it here because I want to center this brace and then drill holes and mount this thing up here, but that's pretty much what we're going for. So I'll be right back with you guys. Video is getting kind of long, so I'm going to pause it here, and once I get this stuff mounted down and shims put in here to get this stuff tight, I'll be right back. Alright, so here's what I did. Went ahead, mounted down the ESC. It's bolted in correctly. I went ahead and straightened up the bracket. Went ahead and shimmed it with washers on each side so that I don't have any wiggle left or right. I had to cut the receiver box almost in half because they're way too long and it hits the motor. So I trimmed it to where I had the most tie down points to the chassis. I also put the bolt back in. So just trim it right before that bolt so that you have a wire tie down. I might bring these wires down and tie them under the bracket like it was factory. I had to cut the battery tray here so that I ended up with the side support and the support under the tray. I also trimmed the bracket in the back so that I could utilize the bearing for the rear drive shaft, so and still have clearance there. So that's all back in as well. Plus I can now keep the cap on to protect the rear. Alright, like I was saying, I got the back put on to protect the rear. I can keep the cap on. So bearing, all that's retained. Got all the wires cleaned up and routed into the receiver box. Got the kill mode cap pack two-sided tape down with the wire here. I still need to move this wire up for the cap back. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that the way that they have this. I don't have this gauge wire, so we might run it like this and see what happens, but honestly these wires need to come up to the top. But as you see, the ESC is mounted down. It's secure. So next thing I'll be working on is putting some fans onto the motor. That's about all I have left. Is I'm going to try to add some fans in here. I got the steering all hooked back up. I do need the remote control, so I'll have to get it from a guy who owns this, so that I can tune the ESC and dial everything in. That's about it. So it's looking real good. Like I said, most of the weight's up front now. We'll be able to stack up the batteries right here, which should be good because my plate ends right at the battery tray, so I'll be able to stack up the batteries here no problem. I did have to leave this. Sometimes I'm going to leave the edge for now because I got plenty of room with this motor. Usually with a Coke can I got to trim this flat, but in this case I don't have to. Does leave room. I would love to trim these out and run the Game Changer fans, the 3-pack, in here. But I don't know if that's going to be possible, so I might just run 2 fans here and maybe use this heat sink. If I can use this heat sink, I should be able to mount 2 of the Game Changer fans to it. It seems to clear the drive shaft pretty good, so I might just go that route, but we'll see. I'd like to get it fired up and rolling soon, but as far as I know, everything seems to be pretty good. All right, I'm going ahead and programming this. This is something I wanted to show you guys. When it says this, a new version of beta device firmware is available if you wish to update. You don't want to update. Never want to update anything. So we're reading this XLX. It's telling me it's a Mamba XLX. Basic. Brake amount with reverse 3.2, auto lipo, drag brake 0. Where is software? 178. So don't use any of these softwares for drag racing or speed runs. Always use 178. So we're going to update firmware. Do not disconnect the device. We're going to put in that 178 firmware. 178 is the best one out there. It gives you the most out of your XLX. So we're going to take this this new XLX and put in the 178 software, and then I'm going to go ahead and adjust braking, reverse. I'm going to set reverse down to probably 20-30% because we don't need a lot of reverse, and you don't want to accidentally hit reverse and break some gears or break your motor or spin the car out and crash it. So just wanted to show you guys this, just so you guys know. So it's now changing everything, putting it back. So now it's telling me there is new software. Now we're gonna go to basic. So with reverse, we're gonna leave BEC, never up your BEC voltage, not for drag racing, anything. You don't want rapid steering, you just don't need it. Power, max forward, of course, 100%. Gonna do a low start because he's doing no prep. Max reverse. We're gonna take reverse and drop this down to 30%. Punch control, we're gonna up his punch control to 50%. We are not gonna do a motor current limiting. See, it's limited at 220 amps. We're going to go to custom. And we're going to move this up to 350. Now we're going to update. I update after every screen. Some people say you can do it all and then update at the end. I don't. I update after every screen. Advance. Timing. Auxiliary. Link live is disabled. Throttle deadband. Don't mess with that. Motor. It's brushless. Motor direction is normal right now. We're probably going to have to flip that. Reverse, because I flipped the motor around, and we're gonna update. Logging, automatic data reset is disabled. I'm going to automatically reset this at 90% because I don't think he's ever gonna go in and pull his logs. And that's pretty much it, guys. This one is all set up. So just wanted to show you 178 is the software you want to run. This is your data wire. This white, red, and brown. We're not using data on our controller, so this won't be hooked up. This one will get hooked to number 2, to your throttle trigger. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Figured I'd show you how I set them up.